All right. Good morning or afternoon, guys. Thank you for joining us. I'm sorry you guys are running a little late. We had some technical difficulties with the stream. I got John here as always. Thank you again for joining us for our bi-weekly lunch and learn here. Today I want to show you something that we've started covering a little bit, but there's a lot more that we can talk about, and that's our Agri Assistant app that's used on our latest spraying drones. Today, I want to show you some specific things that we can do, which is importing field boundaries and flying perimeter style uh, um, flights. So this is something pretty exciting. There's some new features available on this, and we'll cover a lot more in this as well. And as always, guys, please, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and we'll answer them as soon as possible. Or just reach us at our website. You can see it right here, hsc-uav.com. You can ask us questions or contact us through there. But let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to switch over to my screen. John, you want to introduce yourself while I'm doing that?
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Yep, I'm John. I'm sales support here at hsc-uav.com. So if you were to hop into the our website, I should say, and engage in chat, you most likely will find me. So please feel free to do so if you have any questions throughout the day, whether you're watching this on a rerun or live. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and even turn on the bell so you know when we go live. We do go live a few times a month, twice for lunch and learns, and we also do demos monthly. So please feel free to join us. So Simon, take it back.
Awesome. So I want to go ahead and show you guys, this is the home screen of the Agri Assistant app. A couple things that I love about this app. First of all, it's an Android-based system, which means you have a plethora of devices that are designed to be used outdoors and have great battery life to operate your drones from. Right now, I'm operating off my phone, actually. So I'm plugged into a Samsung Galaxy S, and it works.
That was going to be my first. That was going to be my first question, Simon.
Yeah.
As you get into it, because I just had this about tablets and recommendations of tablets. There's so many different ones out there. So could you just quickly talk about the flexibility, and you get to just pick whichever device makes the most sense for you, I would think.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really what it boils down to is what is your preference in terms of device? We're lucky enough to have so many options in terms of available devices that work great with this system, and just about any Android device will work well with this. It doesn't require a huge amount of processing power to operate well. My personal preference and what I've used the most and what seems to work really well in terms of screen brightness, battery life, and also high temperatures are Samsung devices. I really like Samsung devices. They work great. But we are also looking at bringing on potentially our own ruggedized tablets that may be coming in the future, John. I know that we briefly discussed that in the past, but we're still working on that, and I think we'll have something pretty good in the future coming soon.
That'd be exciting. Awesome. Well, thank you.
No problem. So yeah, again, this is the home display. It's extremely simple. There's a couple icons towards the bottom. There's two icons a little bit higher up, ground plan and start. And it's a very, very easily laid out device. You can also see, well, you might not be able to see, it's pretty small. Right here at the bottom left, it says that we are connected. I actually am connected to one of my drones right now. And the way that this system connects, I'll show you, is actually, there's a couple different options for devices, but to communicate with the aircraft, we choose our Bluetooth option. So it is a wireless connection from the controller to the device, which is great. That allows you to separate the devices and you're not tied by a cable, which is nice. So we'll go ahead and select our correct device. You'll see it's going to connect and select the right. There we go, connected. So let's go ahead and jump. I want to do a quick overview before we jump into the importing files in case people haven't seen this before. We'll go ahead and go into the ground plan page. And you guys can see this is the home display in terms of ground planning with the AgriSystem software. This is where we do all of our mission planning. There's two main pages to this software. You have the ground plan and then the start page. The start page is where we do our flying operations. The ground plan is where we do our mission planning. This is where we actually generate and create our boundaries. And I'll quickly create a boundary just to show you how easy it is to do create a boundary using this software. I'm going to click the button on the bottom right here, new plot, and it's going to give us a ton of different options as to how we create, how we select our planning method. So we have a couple options. We have a handheld GPS or RTK point device. We have a flight GPS, a map selection, and waypoint planning. So some of these devices require the optional RTK upgrade. That would be the handheld GPS RTK point device and the waypoint planning. That is an option on our spraying drones, is the RTK. If you're not familiar with the RTK, that is essentially allows you to increase the accuracy of your standard GPS down to sub-centimeter levels. We also have options for flight GPS and map selection. So flight GPS actually allows us to fly the drone and set boundary points as we're flying the drone. Really useful for tough areas to see, areas with bad map information, and so on and so forth. And finally,
so Simon,
yeah, go ahead.
To make sure I understand that correctly, you're talking about flying a drone, hovering it in one spot, and then saying, that's the point that I want you to mark as a boundary while it's in the air, just hovering.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Well, that is pretty useful.
It is really useful, and it works great. It's really simple to use. Yeah, it's a great feature to have. The last one here is map selection, and this is probably the simplest and frankly probably the most commonly used option. This just allows us to select a point on the map to mark a boundary. So we're going to actually, I'm quickly going to show you map selection just to show you how easy this is. We'll select map selection. It's going to ask us for our account information, which I already have typed in, and also the name of the area. So we'll call this one Sunnytown because that's the park that we're setting our, the name of the location that we're setting our boundary. Click confirm. And you'll notice right off the bat, it has an option here, point here. So one thing I really like about this software is you can see I got my finger on the device here and I'm moving my map around and you can see the point stays in the center. I love this because it makes it so much easier to set your points accurately. In this case, it's using Google Maps. It makes it so easy to set the points accurately versus just tapping on the screen and hoping that you hit the right spot. This allows you to really fine-tune the location. And to add that point is as easy as clicking boundary point. So we can hit boundary point, and we can add as many points as we need to create our area. And you can see just how simple this is. And you can go back and edit the points after the fact too. That is something that some of our previous systems didn't allow you to do, was going back and actually moving the points after the area had been created. So let's go ahead and set all of our points. Add one more here. Now we're also able to add obstacles here too. Here's something I really like about this system. When we click obstacle point, it gives us two options for obstacles. We can create a polygon-based obstacle or a circle obstacle. So circle obstacles are great for trees and power poles and objects that you can just set a radius and not worry about. But a polygon barrier point is an amazing feature because you can set a more defined obstacle around a building, for example. So let's select the polygon one, and I'll show you how this works. It's just like setting your boundary. We'll zoom in a little more. Again, the software is so fluid and smooth. It's so easy to use. It's exactly like you would expect from a smartphone. So we'll just go ahead and hit this button here to add our points. And guys, again, if you have any questions, John and I can get to it in the chat or
just read my mind. I was about to say that.
So here you can see I can add an obstacle, and you can add multiple obstacles too, of course. But let's go ahead and confirm that. So you can see I've just generated my area. And in this software, the way, yeah, go ahead, John.
I will just mention that we do have obstacle avoidance, but we highly recommend always to mark your obstacles when you know they're there, always. So that way your drone can be smart enough to fly around it and really use all the capabilities that it has, the autonomous flight, to work properly.
You read my mind there, John. Although our drones do have radar obstacle avoidance and the ability to fly around obstacles automatically, it's always best to mark your obstacles, especially if you know they're there. It just makes the flying operation that much more efficient and faster. One thing you always got to keep in mind with spraying drones is you're on the clock when it's flying. You have a very limited amount of time to put down your product, and the more time you waste trying to fly around an obstacle autonomously, which is a little slower than if you plan an obstacle, you're not doing the work, right? So it's always best to simply mark your obstacles ahead of time. The obstacle avoidance, the way I look at it and the way I describe it in my training too, is it's an incredible safety feature. So if you make a mistake in your flight plan and you set it up too close to a tree, or you don't realize there's a pole in the middle of your field, it will protect your aircraft from crashing into it. And you won't have to repair it and spend a bunch of money fixing it. So it's an amazing feature. But in a lot of cases, if you do that, you either have to manually fly around it or reset the flight plan. It just takes longer. So it's always best to mark your points ahead of time. But with the obstacle avoidance, John, I think you will agree, there's been a lot less incidents of aircraft crashing due to mistakes in the flight planning. That's absolutely certain. So
the support calls go more towards battery issues versus
right, maintaining the batteries, charging them properly, etc. You're exactly right. It's very true. So let's go ahead and click save.
But yeah, and that's something too to be said. The hardware on these drones have gotten so good over the years.
Oh my gosh,
where we
yes.
see, and the hardware is good. So where we see now the advancements are in the software. And
absolutely,
this is what we love to showcase. So
that's a great point. The hardware nowadays is so good that it's basically bulletproof. The motors, the props, the frame, the actual IMUs and sensors on board. The GPS has gotten better. They've just gotten so much more reliable that it used to be that when I first started with autonomous drones, a few years back, you never took your eyes off the drone. That was a huge no-no, and I didn't have the confidence to take my eyes off the drone. And you shouldn't look away and do other things while you're flying the drone. You should always keep an eye on the drone. But my confidence level has gone up so much with these systems that I can just trust it. I can trust that it's going to follow the terrain properly. I can trust that it's going to follow my path properly. I can trust that it's going to automatically come home if anything bad happens, if the battery dies or if it loses signal or whatever else it may be. That's a great point. So one last thing I'll do. Can you hear me okay, John?
I lost you for a quick second, but you're back.
No problem. I saw you touching your ears there. No,
that's my cue. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, he's back.
So I've now created my boundary. You can see I have a boundary and an obstacle. And what I have to do now is actually share the plot so that I can fly it. Here I can also edit it and also split it into multiple plots. This is a really cool feature. Let's look at the split option. This allows me, if I have a large field, which this actually isn't, but imagine it were a very large area and you know that you have to fly it in multiple sections, look how easy it is to split this up into any direction. I can add 2 points across the field like this, hit split, and it splits my field in half. It sets a line right down the middle, and I can actually split it into multiple directions too. So
one thing I do want to ask you, Simon, is that with this perimeter you set, how easy is it to spray the perimeter?
It's very easy, and I'm going to show you that in just a moment here.
Awesome.
So you can see I actually split it here. We'll reset it because we don't need to. Split it.
But you can quickly split your sections just like that any way you want.
So easy. It's
amazing.
So easy, and you can just choose the one that you want to fly. It's incredibly simple.
Yeah, so, 1,000-acre farm, I could see where that would come in pretty handy.
Oh my gosh. And it just makes it so, previously we had to create a separate flight, separate boundary for each mission if we had that situation. Now we just split it. So much easier. It just cuts down the time immensely. I think that's key. So we'll go ahead and hit the share button. This is where we actually choose the type of flight that we're going to fly. We can actually even choose a crop type. There's a bunch of options here for crop type and route type. This is it, okay?
Block, this is the secret sauce.
This is the secret. Block will fly.
Let's don't tell anybody.
we're gonna spill the beans right here. So the block option will fly the entire area, meaning it's going to create a grid within the boundary, and the drone will fly back and forth and cover the whole area.
Like
There's
a bunch
another
of bowling
option here too. we have slide. Now, this is kind of a weird terminology, I'm not going to lie, but slide is the perimeter style spraying. If you choose slide, it will just fly the perimeter of the area.
Slide around the sides.
It'll slide around the sides, exactly. Now, you'll also see there's a 3D option, and 3D is something that we're going to actually probably do a whole separate lunch and learn on.
Well, we need RTK option, for that.
Yeah, right? It's going to be its whole thing. So you need the RTK for 3D, but with the 3D feature, it allows you to mark your points in 3 dimensions, meaning you don't have to rely on the terrain following radar for this. It allows you to set points in 3 dimensions, including altitude. So if you're flying, for example, on a terraced vineyard, that's a great example. It's very difficult for a terrain following sensor to follow the terrain appropriately in that case, because there's so many changes in terrain. And the 3D option allows you to do that extremely accurately. So like I said, that's probably going to be for a different video, but here we can choose block or slide. We'll go ahead and choose slide and hit confirm. You can see it's published a task successfully. And what we can do is go back to the home screen now, because the task has been published. We can hit start. And now we're actually in our flying page per se, our start page. If we go to the little clipboard here, you'll find the task that we just published, Sunnytown. Here it is. Now, you'll notice it's not showing a grid because I chose the slide option. So if I were to start this mission, it's going to fly the perimeter. And actually, I have the drone connected here. I don't have any props or anything on it because it's indoors. But if I hit start, let's see. Route adjust. Here we go. Oh,
motor's going to fire up.
Route point count is 0 or 1. Okay, I don't think it's going to let us do it because there's no GPS connected right now. That's why it's doing that. But you guys can get the idea here. It even shows the start point and where it's going to start. And it's very simple. Once you hit start, it's going to ask you to set your altitude and your spray volume, and it's just going to take off and fly this mission automatically. That makes it
awesome. So
incredibly easy.
I would love to demonstrate this on our next demo in the field, Simon.
Oh, absolutely. We can do that. No problem.
We've actually never demonstrated it live. We've definitely done the grid patterns, the block patterns many times. So.
And I'll show just real quick while we're here, I'll show the block option too. So I'll share it again with block instead.
Yeah, so you can get a sense of how the
got the
software
same name.
Pops up the autonomous flight around that obstacle.
Right.
At the same time.
That's right. Let's see. Well, you know what? I don't want to. We've already done a video on the block option. I want to show something else now that's I think even more interesting since we're already running pretty late here.
We'll have to put a card. So if you're watching this on a rerun, we'll put a card right here. Click up there to take you back to our lunch and learn where we went through all of the autonomous block feature flying.
So I'm actually going to go back to the home page because as you saw the title in this video, one of the things that we wanted to show you is how easy it is to actually import files. So this software allows you to import files, external files, which opens up a huge opportunity for creating missions. Okay?
And Simon, this is the part in the title that we said importing field boundaries, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're importing a field boundary. Now, a field boundary can come from a lot of different sources. You may already have, for example, a shapefile for your farm. You may have a KML file that was created on another software. You might have a RTK-based tractor that creates a boundary file. And in just about all cases, we're able to import it into the software and use that boundary to create our mission. So it makes it incredibly easy to be consistent from all different methods of use of spraying, from a drone to a tractor to whatever it may be. So it's very easy to do. We're going to go into our home page here. We'll click on device, and there's an option here that says tool management. And this is where we can actually import KML files. Now, in order to import a KML file, you have to set the KML file in a specific folder. But before we talk about that, let's talk about KML files in general, because you might not be familiar with those. KML file is one of the more common methods of creating a file that has points and data to set a location with coordinates, meaning a boundary. And it actually can be more than a boundary. It can also be a path. And that's why this system accepts KML files. So if you have a shape file, it would have to be converted to a KML file first. Most software that can generate a shape file also allow you to export as a KML file. But even if you can't, there are a million options to convert, for example, a shape file to a KML file. We might even link a couple in the description below. There's several online tools where you can just upload your shape file and it spits out a KML file. So it does require a KML file, but when we click on that button here, you notice it says, please move KML file to the mobile folder. There's a specific folder on your device in which the KML file needs to be saved to. And once it's there, I've already put one in that folder. You just hit this green KML file import button, and you can see test KML file uploaded succeeded. And you can actually import multiple KML files too. I just put one. But if you had more than one file, you can import multiple files, which is really handy if you have a lot of areas that you might be flying. So once that's imported, I can actually hit back one more time. We'll go back to the home screen. We're going to click the ground plan, which is where we do all of our flight planning. We're going to click the little 3 lines in the top left. That's our menu. And you'll see there's our test KML file, and that has a bunch of numbers on it because that's how I saved it actually. When I click on that, let me see, make sure I get the right one. I think that's the right one. Oh, there it is. I had 2 that were named the same. Here it is. This actually came from a customer, and you can see I've imported it into here, and this actually was converted from a shapefile. So you can see, wow. If I zoom out, we're in the middle of the country here. I don't remember where this is.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and you can see just how simple it is to actually import and how easy it is to create the mission off of it. So since we're happy with the file, we can go ahead and hit the share button. We'll go ahead and save it as a block. Let's rename this so it's not so long.
And while you're doing that, Simon, I'm going to put a card here above my head on the rerun, and going back to the Lunch and Learn where we talked about using Google Earth to create a KML,
right?
Which we took our own pictures that we took pictures of from our own map, and then we used Google Earth, made a KML file that way, and then uploaded that into the system. So
right.
We'll put that one up above for the reruns on this as well.
Exactly. So check this out. Now that I've published my task, I can go into my start page, which is my flying page, and I can see my grid that it's going to fly, and I can make adjustments here. So if I want to rotate the direction in which it's flying, I can just spin this little yellow bar here. And again, we've done another video on this, so if you do want to check out more details on adjusting routes and things like that, please check it out. But check out how easy this is to do. I can adjust my spacing. I can increase my swath here. And one thing I love about this software, like I was saying before, a lot of software I've used in the past, when you go and adjust the route or the swath, for example, in a large area, it tends to kind of take a while to respond. This is instant. I mean, it's so fast, and it shows you the change immediately on the spot. It allows us to make adjustments so quickly. You can see if I want to fly my border a little bit closer, I can just increase my indentation. I can choose only specific sides. So I can make this side, you guys see how I'm doing that? I'm selecting a side and making it smaller or larger. It just gives you so much flexibility for adjusting your route, and you can adjust your obstacle boundaries. You can do so many options here. Change your route type for an obstacle. A particular flight does not have an obstacle, but it just makes it incredibly simple to adjust. You can adjust the entire route and move the whole mission up and down. You can see I'm moving it a couple feet at a time here. It's so straightforward. And once you're ready to fly it, basically you can hit the start button. Again, I don't know if it's going to let us. Oh, I think I may have gotten some GPS signal weak. Once you hit the start button, this is the page that you'll see. So you can choose your spray type, you can select your dosage, you can select your flying speed, you can enable your radar and your altitude for your radar straight from here. There's even an option to enable or disable a coordinated turn, which is essentially a banked turn instead of a square turn. So you can choose to enable or disable that. And it's so easy. If you hit confirm, you'll notice it's going to.
I've heard firsthand about that coordinated turn and how amazing that is.
It's, it speeds up the turns a little bit. You might lose a little accuracy because it's having to round off the corners, but for large areas, it's the way to go. So right now you can see it's basically ready to fly, except it does an automatic pre-flight check before you fly. So you can see right now it's saying I don't have GPS. So the compass is normal, IMU is normal, I can set my takeoff altitude, but my GPS is not located. So if I try to take off right now, it actually won't work. It'll say start fail, the GPS signal is bad. So as a built-in checklist, one other thing I don't think we've shown yet is the camera. I actually have the camera on right now. You guys can see it right behind my head. I haven't pointed out the window. If I tap on it, I can make it full screen. I can go back to the map by just clicking on the map. And you can see how easy it is to actually use. There's ways to turn on and off the headlights on the drone. You see people walking by. So very, very simple to use and just makes it that much more usable as an aircraft. So it's something I really like about it. I think that kind of covers what I wanted to show for this particular lunch and learn. Is there anything else, John, that you have any thoughts of? Anything you want to add?
No, that was it. Just wanted to touch base on these two topics. That way, we can, I get these questions a lot about these .kml files and trying to explain them. This is very helpful because from what I've learned today and how I also explain it is that a KML file is nothing more than GPS coordinates, location boundary. I mean, not the exact coordinates, but in layman's terms, it's basically a boundary coming into the software, and then from there we tell the software what to do with those coordinates. Right?
That's right.
It's not coming to us and saying, "Oh, you're going to spray this, and the drone's automatically going to work." It's really nothing more than just the location where you're farm, where you're spraying. And you know what? If you can get us those KML files, I mean, that's pretty helpful to know not only like exactly where they're spraying, but as far as the FAA conversation goes, like if we were to, we could pull that up. We'd be like, oh, okay, and help you with that too. So that's about it. I'll lastly just say thank you so much for watching today here at HSE. Simon and I do these lunch and learns every other Tuesday at noon. Please come in and join us. Don't forget to give us a like, turn on the bell for the notifications. And if you do have questions on anything to do with commercial drones and especially the FAA here in the US, we would be happy to walk you through that and get you any estimates, any information, anything you might need to help your mission much more successful.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, John. I do want to add one more thing. I had this already loaded here, so I figured I'd show you guys. This is an example of a path style KML that I imported. So this actually allows me to fly a straight line, essentially. Well, not a straight line, but a path rather than a grid and an area. So this is an extremely useful feature. If you're doing right-of-way spraying, if you're doing waterway
ditch lines.
Yeah, exactly. This
dams.
Is an amazing option because you can set a path for the drone to fly along with a set gallon per minute rate, and it'll just fly along that path. So this is an amazing feature as well. And you can import these types of files too as a KML. So incredibly useful feature here to be able to do that. And it's so easy to do, as you saw. I mean, it takes seconds to do. But again, thanks again, John.
And you can do I got a question on that. You can do the path without the RTK?
So you can import a KML file that's a path without RTK, correct. In order to generate a path using the drone, meaning flying the drone and marking points, you do require the RTK. So it assumes if you import a path or a KML file, it assumes that it's accurate enough to be safe. That's basically what it's doing.
So you can fly the path with importing KMLs.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of
Cool.
a little hack.
Okay, we might have to do some a lunch and learn on that whole path system, and just operate. That's pretty cool.
That's
So,
right. Great.
all right, guys.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Make sure to check us out, hse-uab.com. Contact us, phone us, whatever it takes, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
See you next time.